Hoping you've had a fantastic week and welcome to another edition of Metropole Sports Center. My name is Nashon Owano. I have a great show lined up for you tonight. These are just some of the things that you're going to be talking about today. Now, the provisional squad for the Harambee Stars squad that is going to be squaring it out with the Zambian side, that is Chipolopolo, in Nairobi on the 10th of October, has officially been announced. You're just going to be looking at that lineup and just trying to understand which players have been included in that lineup and which ones have not been included. Apart from that, we are going to be talking about the London Marathon and the Keino Classic that is going to be taking place on Saturday and on Sunday, respectively. And also, apart from that, I'm going to be talking matters sports development on the show today. Speaking of sports development, I'm going to be talking with Ashley Kotzvin all the way from South Africa. Ashley is the CEO of Forward Zone Sports Management. Apart from that, I'm also going to be talking with Karen Njerenga, who's the PR and the media executive for Betway Kenya. Just before I switch and talk to Karen about what they've been up to at as Betway as a company during this period of COVID-19, these are just some of the things that you need to understand about the upcoming match that is going to be against Harambee Stars and Zambia in the country. When you're talking about Harambee Stars, just before we talk about the squad, the whole conversation that has been there has been about the resumption of the sports in the country. Remember, there are some sports which have been given the green light to officially continue, but some sports have to wait a bit longer before they can resume. Now, the provisional squad has been announced by the coach, that is Francis Kimanzi, and on the list some of the players that are notably in question on whether they are going to be in the country on the 10th of October. That is Michael Olunga, who plays for Kashiwai Reysol all the way in Japan, and also apart from him, the questions about whether Victor Wanyama, who plays in Canada, is going to jet into the country to play that particular match. Also, with regards to the football world in Kenya, this past week has been full of a lot of development. That is because the FKF president, that is Nick Mwendwa, has announced a new sponsorship between FKF and Star Times. This basically means that Star Times are going to be broadcasting all the KPL matches for the season 2020-2021. In case you're asking how much money has been spent or has been given for this particular sponsorship, it's $1.1 million. That is approximately 1.1 billion Kenya shillings. Now, talking about the developments in the country, I'm joined by Karen Njerenga, who's the PR and media executive for Betway Kenya. So we're just going to be contextualizing the whole conversation about what they've been up to during this period. Now, Karen, thank you so much for finding time to join me in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So it goes without doubt that COVID-19 has disrupted a lot of activities in the country. Maybe for somebody who's watching the show, they would like to understand how Betway has managed to cope during this period.
COVID has affected everyone across the world, actually. And even for us, we are no exception. We had to make an adjustment in terms of how we do business and even more so our CSR activities. And yeah, it's been quite an interesting experience, to say the least.
Okay. Yeah. So going forward post-COVID, what are some of the things that you guys are going to probably align with the lessons that you've learned during this period?
So I'll speak to CSR and to business as well. To CSR, we definitely, when you do CSR, you need to be on ground, you need to interact with the people. And so in this case, we've had to make an adjustment in that we're not able to interact with the teams or with the communities, but how do we still make a difference from a CSR perspective as a responsible corporate citizen? And so we decided we're going to embark on a sports development webinar, which we're calling the Betway Sports Development Webinar, that has been running for a month now. We are going to the second chapter in the coming week. And what it entails is we have a group of panelists that come together to provide skill and knowledge to a selected team. So we go through a selection process, we pick a team, and we host them in the webinar. So some of the guys that, the panelists that we've had include Chris Barnes of UEFA. We have Nico Labom, who's the technical director for the Supersport team. We also have Grant Johnson, and we also have Forwards and CEO Ashley Cotson, as you mentioned. So they are all bringing some form of expertise to the platform, and so far so good. The last one we had, the last webinar we had, we hosted that panel as well as Dagos Thomas, who are a team that's upcoming actually in the Dagoretti side of this town, and it was quite interesting. The questions that they posed to these guys were so informative. You can tell they're picking something, and you also see that you're providing a platform where they may not have another opportunity to engage with such figures across the world, and so they were very excited about it. And for us it's quite motivational, because the next one is even more exciting, if I may say that. As for business, we have always been an online business. We have mainly been an online business, and so there was not much effect there in terms of the COVID situation. What we've done is we've been more challenged to provide a premium product that keeps our customers engaged and entertained amidst all the mayhem.
Okay, so you mentioned you're an online, most of the activities are online. During this period, is there like a certain pattern that you guys probably notice in terms of betting? Because, you know, people used to bet on the English Premier League, and now the English Premier League is there. Was there like a change in pattern in terms of the people that were betting during that period?
I wouldn't say so. Actually, the effect was mainly because of the suspension of sports. That definitely created some sort of vacuum. But we also offer other sport. We have esports. So our customers were never in a vacuum. We have casino, so they had the chance to interact with many other of our products. But now that sport is back, I think we can say that everything is now back to normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me take you back to the sports development webinar that you've mentioned. You had Dagos Thomas in your first inaugural sports webinar. Maybe what are some of the things that the participants, maybe the select teams that you guys choose to have on the webinar benefit? Because I'm made to understand that Dagos Thomas got a benefit from you guys. Maybe you can talk about the subsequent ones that are coming. What are the, apart from the knowledge that they get, because obviously it's very hard to find people like from the UEFA coming in to talk to you guys. You only hear them when you're talking about Champions League. So what are some of the things that people can gain from this series of webinar? Okay,
so it's not just a typical webinar. We've endeavored to provide something much more. So in this case, they're getting the skill, they're getting the knowledge, but we went a step further and provided training equipment. We felt it was important in this case because you may learn a technical skill, you may learn a tactical skill, you may have that interaction with panelist who might come off as a mentor. But if you have no equipment to practice what you've been taught, then the skill and the knowledge is somewhat in vain. So we endeavored to just provide something more. So we provide the skill set, we provide the knowledge, and we also provide equipment for you now to practice what you've been taught, because it's a transition from theory to practical.
So maybe you could tell us what should people expect in the subsequent webinar that is coming up?
It's definitely pretty exciting. We have some good things lined up. I cannot reveal everything beforehand, but it's something we are looking into, engaging different sports for sure. We know football is big, but there are also other sports that most people don't talk about, and for us, we would want to see what comes out of those. In their interview with Kotsen mentioned that women's sport, and it's quite important that he actually brought it up, because women's sports is not talked about much in this country. I've had several interactions with women in sports, and they say, you know, well, we talk about men a lot, but no one is thinking about us. And we said, you know what, we'd want to chip in and do that. So we are looking into that as well in our upcoming webinars with a different experience, obviously. Yes.
Okay. As we probably wrap up the interview, we can never run away from this question. Responsible betting. Because you've had situations where somebody, you're given your school fees to go pay, say 100,000, then you hear somebody, sad to say, you hear somebody probably has committed suicide because they used all the money. So maybe you could bring us up to speed in terms of what are some of the adjustments that you guys have done to ensure that the culture of responsible betting is still continuing. Because betting is very addictive. You could put in 100 shillings, then you realize, oh wait, it's done, then you want to put in more and more. So what are you guys doing to ensure that people are, the culture of responsible betting is a continuing conversation in the whole topic of betting?
We've always encouraged people to consider betting as a form of entertainment, not a money-making venture. That is not why we're in business. For us, it's to provide entertainment. The same way you'd go somewhere and have choma and just chill. It's the same. We're just providing a different kind of entertainment where you get to play games like you would with a PS and all that. The thing is, sometimes that can be misconstrued. People can sometimes get too involved. Which we now internally decided that we need to take measures to push responsible betting. And Betway is a brand across the world. We are always pushing responsible betting in all our markets. Here in Kenya, we've taken several initiatives, both internally and externally. I can mention the external in that we, even on our social media posts, if you go to our social media pages, we have a tagline, bet the responsible way. And for us, that's very key. That's why it's always there, so that people do not forget to bet the responsible way. But internally, we've also taken measures that will push that. If we see something off, it's always a point of concern for us, and we do our very best to mitigate it. At the end of the day, it's about providing a fun experience that's also informative. Yeah, so it's quite close to our hearts when it comes to responsible betting. And responsible betting gaming month is actually coming up in November, so.
Okay. Such a timely conversation, I guess. Thank you so much for sparing time to come on the show. Looking forward to having you again after the Women in Sports webinar so that we can unpack the whole conversation.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. There you have it. Bet only with what you can spend for entertainment. Responsible betting is important whenever you're spending your money. Well, that wraps up the first part of the show. After the break, I'm going to be joined by Forward Zone CEO, that is Ashley Kotsvin, all the way from South Africa. We're going to be talking about sports development. How important is sports development in the sporting arena? We take a short commercial break. I'll see you after the break.